Taxi associations Tata and Cadeta in the Western Cape have issued an apology to commuters for violent taxi wars that led to the loss of several lives as a result of their impasse over the B97 route. The protracted taxi violence led to more than 80 people being shot and killed from 2020 to 2021. And then in July 2021, Mobility Minister in the Western Cape, Daylin Mitchell, invoked his powers in terms of Section 91 of the National Land Transport Act to close the route. Mitchell has now declared the route open again and handed over operating licenses to the associations. The Western Cape Minister of Mobility, Daylin Mitchell, joins us now to talk a little bit more about this. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us. We'll get to the statement made by the taxi associations on the violence in just a moment, but just to please put us in the know about these rights that you invoked in order to stem the violence. What did it involve, and what makes you feel that you've reached a point where you can actually hand over the routes?
Well, good evening, and good evening to the listeners, and thank you very much for having me. The reality is that when I was appointed as the MEC responsible for transport in the Western Cape on the 25th of May 2021, the first call from the industry was to assist them with the violence in the industry. And 6 weeks into the job, we saw a major increase in criminality, in violence, in loss of lives. And after numerous engagements at the time with the two associations on B97, I felt that I had a duty and an obligation to ensure that the commuters that make use of that particular route are kept safe. As government, we have an obligation, and I then invoked my powers. So after that, as part of me closing the route, there was also a commitment by both associations that we will go into mediation. When I realized and saw that the mediation is in fact not working, we then went ahead and then went over to arbitration, where there was an arbitrator appointed, and the arbitrator made an award in November 2021. And before the arbitration process, all the parties agreed to whatever the outcome of the arbitration award. All will abide by it, and if there was recommendations to government, as the MEC, I will ensure that government fulfills their role. And so what happened today was a culmination of many nights, many engagements with the industry and industry leadership, and many external stakeholders being part of this, including the commuters that had opportunities to make comments through the various government gazettes and public participation processes throughout this process.
I'm just wondering what is involved in the apology. Is it an acknowledgement by taxi associations that they are responsible for the violence that we mentioned over this period? And beyond the recriminations that you have made in the past, I mean, you've said to them that they need to renounce acts of intimidation, extortion, violence, murder. But part of that was seen during the protest action earlier this month. So this is why I was asking about the powers of the National Land Transport Act, which you invoked. What does it do in helping you hold them to account?
Well, excuse me. The reality is that the powers vested in me through the National Land Transport Act allowed me to close the particular route. So the act is very clear that when violence or an area becomes unsafe to an extent that the lives of commuters are at stake, I have an obligation to close it. So what happened earlier this month is not on B97. So when I open B97 today, it is what the law enforcement agencies and the South African police services and the various stakeholders have informed them what we've seen on the ground for the last 18 months. So there has been no criminal acts of violence on that particular route. There was a mediation that failed. There was arbitration. The arbitrator, the external arbitrator, made a recommendation. The recommendation was then communicated to the various associations or the two associations. It was done in collaboration with the two local municipalities because it is in Paarl, which means that Drakensberg municipality, and Bellville, which is the other point, which is in the city of Cape Town. So those two municipalities were also part of this. So I am, as per the act that dictates how and when a route must be closed, that all those requirements have been met.
I suppose it's important for me and the viewers to understand, because we know that there have been reports of continuing taxi violence in the Western Cape. You're isolating it to this particular route, and I'm just trying to understand what else you can do. I mean, the city of Cape Town said that it's not planning to let violence go during the taxi protest, which I mentioned happened. But the reality is that you saw long-distance bus drivers who called for help to say that drivers were undertaxed from the taxi industry. And if we're talking about an integrated transport system, then that means that everybody needs to work together in harmony to keep or to ensure the safety of commuters, whether it's be on buses or on taxis.
Yes, no, absolutely. I absolutely agree. And so what we also just need to understand is that not all operators in the industry are criminals. There is a criminal few, and I've said it on numerous occasions and on public platforms and to the industry itself. It is the criminal element within the industry that is causing the industry to have this bad name, and that actually become opportunists when there is a protest or when there is a route being closed or oversaturating a route. And as part of the message today to the operators and to the various leaderships were that the operating licenses were issued. That was done on the supply and demand from the local municipalities as the planning authorities as per the legislation, and that no illegal operations will be tolerated. And I mean, I didn't just open the route today, and we will monitor the route for the next couple of months. And if there's at any point any violence or any commuter being put in the middle of potential violence, I will not hesitate to reinvoke my powers to reclose that route. I mean, the industry and the leadership is well aware of it. And I made sure when we were in the community today that even the community members are informed about it.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.